Before we dive into what might be the most twisted, most shocking story I've ever told on this channel, I need you to do something for me. Right now, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, because what I'm about to share with you, it's going to take you on a journey through deception so deep, so calculated, so absolutely mind-blowing, that you won't believe it's real. This is American Shadow, where we expose the darkness hiding in plain sight, where we reveal the secrets people kill to protect, where we show you that sometimes the person sleeping next to you is a complete stranger. Drop a comment right now. Tell me what state you're watching from. California, Texas, New York, Florida, Georgia? I want to know where the American Shadow family is at today. Comment your state and let's build this community together. Now, settle in, get comfortable, because this story is going to take some time to tell, and trust me, every single minute is worth it. The perfect couple. Let me introduce you to Brandon Hughes, 37 years old, living in Charlotte, North Carolina. Corporate lawyer at one of the biggest firms in the state. 6-figure salary, corner office, expensive suits, the kind of man who had it all figured out. Brandon was tall, well-built, covered in tasteful tattoos that he usually kept hidden under his professional attire, a compass and scales of justice on his chest, African tribal patterns on his shoulder, script on his forearm that said, "Justice and Truth." He was the picture of success. Respected, admired, trusted. He'd been married to his wife Cassandra for 12 years, high school sweethearts. They got together when they were 18, got married at 25, and everyone said they were relationship goals. The couple that proved true love exists. Cassandra Hughes was 35. Stunning, elegant. She worked as a real estate agent, selling luxury homes to wealthy clients. She had her own successful career, her own money, her own identity. She had delicate script tattoos on her collarbone that said, "Fearless and Free," and a small lotus flower on her ankle. They had 2 kids, a son, Jordan, age 10, and a daughter, Maya, age 7. Beautiful children, smart, well-behaved, the perfect family. They lived in a gorgeous house in an upscale neighborhood, 4 bedrooms, pool in the backyard, 2 luxury cars in the garage. They took family vacations twice a year, went to church on Sundays, hosted dinner parties, volunteered in their community. From the outside, they were perfect, absolutely perfect. The kind of couple you'd see and think, I want what they have. But here's the thing about perfection. It's almost always a lie, and Brandon and Cassandra's perfect life, it was built on the biggest lie imaginable. Because while everyone saw the perfect marriage, the perfect family, the perfect life, neither Brandon nor Cassandra were who they claimed to be. They were both living double lives, secret lives. Lives so separate, so compartmentalized, so carefully constructed, that even their own children had no idea. And when those 2 lives collided, when the truth finally came out, it would destroy everything. And I mean everything. Let me take you back to where it all started to fall apart. June 15th, 2023. A Thursday. Cassandra was showing a house to a client across town. Brandon was supposed to be at his law firm working on a major case that was going to trial the following week. But Brandon wasn't at his office. He'd told his assistant he had a meeting with a client, told his partners he'd be working remotely for the afternoon. But the truth was very different. Brandon drove to a luxury apartment building on the other side of Charlotte, a place he'd been coming to for the past 8 years. He parked in the underground garage where his car wouldn't be seen, took the elevator to the 15th floor, and walked into apartment 1507. Inside that apartment was a woman named Jasmine Carter, 32 years old, beautiful, successful marketing executive, and she had a secret too. A secret that matched Brandon's perfectly. Jasmine was his other wife. Not girlfriend, not mistress, wife. Legally married wife. With a marriage certificate and everything. Brandon Hughes was a bigamist. He'd been married to 2 women simultaneously for the past 8 years. And here's where it gets even crazier. Brandon and Jasmine had children too, twin boys, Marcus and Malcolm, age 6. 2 more sons that Brandon's first family knew nothing about. Let that sink in for a moment. Brandon had 4 children with 2 different women, 2 separate families, 2 separate lives. And somehow, he'd been maintaining both for 8 years without either woman knowing about the other. How? How is that even possible? How does someone live 2 completely separate lives for nearly a decade without getting caught? That's what we're going to explore. Because the answer is going to shock you. Brandon had a system, a carefully calculated, meticulously planned system that allowed him to be 2 different people. With Cassandra, he was Brandon Hughes, the successful corporate lawyer. He lived in the family home Sunday night through Wednesday night, 4 nights a week with Cassandra and their kids. He'd go to work every day from that house, come home to that family, play the role of devoted husband and father. He told Cassandra that his law firm required him to travel frequently, that he had clients in other cities, that he needed to be in Columbia, South Carolina, and Charleston for work, that sometimes he had to stay overnight for depositions, trials, client meetings. Cassandra believed him. Why wouldn't she? He was a successful lawyer. Travel was normal, and he always came back, always called, always texted, always made her feel loved and secure. But Wednesday night through Sunday morning, Brandon was living his second life. He'd tell Cassandra he had to leave for a work trip. He'd pack his bags, kiss his wife and kids goodbye, and then he'd drive across Charlotte to his second home, to Jasmine, to his other family. With Jasmine, Brandon was also Brandon Hughes, successful lawyer. But he told her a different story. He told Jasmine that he traveled constantly for work, that he was based in Charlotte but had to be in Raleigh and Durham for cases, that his schedule was unpredictable, that sometimes he'd be home for days, sometimes he'd be gone for a week. Jasmine believed him too. She was busy with her own career, busy raising their twin boys, and when Brandon was with her, he was fully present, attentive, loving, the perfect husband and father. He paid for both households, 2 mortgages, 2 sets of bills, 2 families, and because he made excellent money as a lawyer, he could afford it. Barely. But he made it work. He had 2 cell phones, 1 for each life. He never mixed them up, never let one family see the other phone. He had 2 sets of friends, 2 sets of social circles. Cassandra's friends never met Jasmine's friends. The families went to different churches, different schools, different neighborhoods. He celebrated every holiday twice. Christmas morning with Cassandra and the kids. Christmas evening with Jasmine and the twins. Birthdays. Anniversaries. Everything doubled. And somehow, for 8 years, he pulled it off. 8 years of living 2 complete separate lives. 8 years of lies. 8 years of deception so deep, so complete, that it seems impossible. But it was real. And it was about to explode. The cracks begin to show. In May of 2023, something changed. Something small. Something Brandon didn't even notice at first. But it was the beginning of the end. Cassandra had been feeling off. Not physically sick, just emotionally disconnected. She and Brandon were fine, they never fought, they got along great. But something was missing. Some spark, some intimacy, some connection that used to be there. She mentioned it to her best friend Michelle over coffee one afternoon. "I don't know," Cassandra said. "Brandon is a great husband. He's a great father. He provides for us. He's never mean or abusive. But sometimes, I feel like I'm married to a ghost. Like he's here but not really here. Like part of him is always somewhere else." Michelle nodded. "Have you talked to him about it?" "I've tried, but he always says he's just stressed about work. That being a lawyer is demanding. That I need to be patient." "And you believe him?" Cassandra hesitated. "I want to, but I don't know. My gut tells me something's off." I just can't figure out what. Michelle leaned in. Cassandra, do you think he's cheating? Cassandra laughed. Brandon, no, absolutely not. He's too predictable, too scheduled. He's either at work or with us. When would he even have time for an affair? Cass, he travels all the time for work. He's gone 3 or 4 nights a week. He could be doing anything. I trust him, Cassandra said. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. Because Michelle was right. Brandon did travel constantly, and she never verified his trips, never checked, never questioned. That conversation planted a seed, a tiny seed of suspicion. And once it was planted, it started to grow. Meanwhile, in Brandon's other life, Jasmine was having her own suspicions. Brandon had been distracted lately, missing things, forgetting conversations. He'd called her Cass once when he meant to say Jasmine. He'd covered it quickly, said it was a client's name, that he was stressed about a case. But it stuck with Jasmine, made her wonder. She started paying attention, noticing patterns. Brandon was only with them Wednesday night through Sunday morning, always the same days, always the same schedule. For 8 years it had never changed. At first, she'd accepted his explanation about work. But now she was starting to question it. What kind of job required someone to travel the exact same days every single week for 8 years? That didn't make sense. That wasn't normal. Jasmine did something she'd never done before. She called Brandon's law firm, pretended to be a potential client, asked to speak with Brandon Hughes. I'm sorry, the receptionist said. Mr. Hughes is actually in the office today. Would you like me to transfer you? He's in the office? Jasmine said. Are you sure? Yes, ma'am. He's here Monday through Thursday most weeks. Would you like me to connect you? Jasmine hung up, her hands shaking, her mind racing. Monday through Thursday. He's in the office Monday through Thursday. But Brandon had told her he traveled Monday through Wednesday, that he was in Columbia and Charleston for work. So if he was in the Charlotte office, where was he sleeping Sunday through Wednesday? The investigation. Cassandra and Jasmine, unknowingly, started investigating their husband at the exact same time. Both women, living separate lives, married to the same man, both feeling like something was wrong. Cassandra started small. She checked Brandon's credit card statements. Nothing suspicious. Mostly gas, restaurants, work expenses. All legitimate. She checked his phone when he was in the shower. His messages were normal. Work emails, texts with her. Nothing romantic. Nothing suspicious. But then she noticed something. Brandon had 2 phones. She'd seen the second phone a few times over the years. He always said it was his work phone, that the law firm required him to have a separate device for client communications. But one day while Brandon was mowing the lawn, Cassandra found that second phone on the kitchen counter. And for the first time, she picked it up. It was locked, of course, password protected. But when she held it, it lit up with notifications. Text messages from a contact labeled J. See you tonight. Can't wait. Love you. Cassandra's blood ran cold. J. Who was J? Why was someone texting her husband, love you? She tried to open the phone, tried a few passwords, their anniversary, his birthday. Nothing worked. And before she could try more, she heard Brandon coming back inside. She quickly put the phone down and walked away. But now she knew. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Jasmine took a more direct approach. She hired a private investigator. She told the PI everything, that her husband claimed to travel for work Sunday through Wednesday, that she'd called his office and found out he was local those days, that something didn't add up. I need to know where he is, Jasmine said. I need to know what he's doing when he's not with me. The PI agreed to follow Brandon, to track his movements, to find out the truth. And what he discovered, it was worse than Jasmine could have ever imagined. The PI followed Brandon on a Wednesday evening, watched him leave Cassandra's house, watched him drive across town, watched him walk into Jasmine's apartment building. The PI was confused. Why would the man drive across town to go to the same address where his client lived? So he kept watching. And on Sunday morning, he watched Brandon leave Jasmine's apartment, get in his car, drive back across Charlotte, and walk into a completely different house. A house in a suburban neighborhood. A house where a woman and 2 children greeted him at the door. Where he kissed the woman, hugged the kids, carried his bags inside like he lived there. The PI took photos, video, documented everything. And then he called Jasmine. "Mrs. Hughes," he said, "we need to meet. What I found, you're going to want to sit down for this." The Confrontation, July 2nd, 2023. The day everything fell apart. Jasmine met with the PI at a coffee shop. He showed her the evidence. Photos of Brandon with another woman. Photos of him with 2 other children. Photos of him entering and leaving a house that wasn't theirs. "Who is she?" Jasmine asked, her voice shaking. "Her name is Cassandra Hughes," the PI said. "She's a real estate agent. They've been married for 12 years. They have 2 kids together." 12 years? Jasmine couldn't breathe. "We've been married for 8. How is that possible?" "He's a bigamist," the PI said. "He's legally married to both of you. I checked the marriage records. Both marriages are legitimate, filed in different counties, different years, but both legal." Jasmine felt like the room was spinning. Her entire marriage, her entire life, was a lie. Brandon wasn't traveling for work. He was living with another family, another wife, other children. "There's more," the PI said. "I tracked his finances. He's been maintaining both households for 8 years. 2 mortgages, 2 sets of expenses, everything doubled. He's been living 2 complete separate lives." Jasmine started crying. How could he do this? How could he lie to me for 8 years? How could he lie to our children? "I don't have those answers," the PI said. "But I think you need to confront him. And you need to tell the other wife." Jasmine sat in that coffee shop for 2 hours, staring at the photos, trying to process, trying to understand, trying to figure out what to do. She thought about her boys, Marcus and Malcolm, 6 years old, innocent. They loved their father, thought he was a hero, thought he was working hard to provide for them. They had no idea. She thought about Cassandra, this woman she'd never met, this woman who was living the same lie, who had no idea her husband had another wife. Should she tell her? Should she reach out? Should she let Cassandra live in ignorance? No. Cassandra deserved to know. Just like Jasmine deserved to know. So Jasmine made a decision. She was going to confront Brandon, and she was going to bring Cassandra with her. Jasmine found Cassandra's phone number through public records, called her that same day. "Hello?" Cassandra answered. "Hi, is this Cassandra Hughes?" "Yes, who's calling?" "My name is Jasmine Carter, and this is going to sound insane, but I need to meet with you. It's about Brandon." There was silence on the other end. "Brandon? My husband, Brandon?" "Yes, please. I know this sounds crazy, but I have information you need to see. Can we meet? Today?" Cassandra should have hung up, should have dismissed this stranger calling about her husband. But something in Jasmine's voice, something desperate and broken, made her agree. "Okay," Cassandra said. "Where?" They met at a park. Neutral territory. Public place. Safe. Cassandra saw Jasmine walking toward her. A beautiful woman. Well-dressed. Expensive purse. And something in Cassandra's gut immediately knew. She knew before Jasmine even opened her mouth. "Thank you for meeting me," Jasmine said. "Who are you?" Cassandra asked. "How do you know my husband?" Jasmine took a deep breath. "Because he's my husband too." The world stopped. Everything went silent. Cassandra stared at this woman. At this stranger. At this person claiming to be married to Brandon. That's impossible, Cassandra said. I wish it was, Jasmine said. She pulled out her phone, showed Cassandra the photos, the videos, the evidence. Brandon at Jasmine's apartment. Brandon with twin boys. Brandon kissing Jasmine goodbye. Brandon living a whole other life. Cassandra felt like she couldn't breathe, like the ground was opening up beneath her. No, this can't be real. It's real, Jasmine said, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I didn't know about you. Didn't know about your kids. I thought I was his only wife. How long? Cassandra asked. 8 years. We've been married for 8 years. 8 years. Cassandra and Brandon had been married for 12, which meant, for 8 years of their marriage, Brandon had been married to someone else, living with someone else, building a family with someone else. I'm going to kill him, Cassandra said, her voice cold. Dead. I'm going to kill him. The unraveling Jasmine and Cassandra sat in that park for 3 hours, comparing notes, comparing stories, comparing lives. And what they discovered, it was horrifying. Brandon had been living 2 completely separate lives, different schedules, different stories, different versions of himself, but both versions were lies. He told Cassandra he worked late Monday through Wednesday, told Jasmine he worked late Thursday through Saturday. The truth? He was with his other family. He told Cassandra he traveled for depositions and trials, told Jasmine he traveled for client meetings. The truth? He was home with his other wife. He celebrated every holiday twice, every birthday twice, every anniversary twice. He bought 2 sets of Christmas presents, 2 sets of Valentine's gifts, 2 sets of everything. He kept his families in completely separate worlds, different neighborhoods, different churches, different schools, different social circles. No overlap, no connection, no chance of them ever meeting. Until now. We need to confront him, Jasmine said. Together. Both of us. When? Cassandra asked. Tonight. He's supposed to come to my place tonight. He thinks you believe he's traveling for work. He has no idea we know. Cassandra nodded. Okay. Tonight. We end this tonight. That evening, Wednesday, July 2nd, Brandon left Cassandra's house at 7 p.m., told her he had to drive to Columbia for a deposition the next morning, kissed her goodbye, hugged his kids, played the role of devoted husband and father one more time. Then he drove across Charlotte to Jasmine's apartment, excited to see his other family, excited to spend the next few days with his other wife and his twin boys. He walked into the apartment at 7:45 p.m. Honey, I'm home, he called out. Jasmine walked into the living room. Hi, baby. How was your day? Long, exhausting. But I'm here now. Where are the boys? They're at my mom's for the night. I thought we could have some alone time. Brandon smiled. I like the sound of that. Good, because we need to talk, and I invited someone to join us. Brandon's smile faltered. You invited someone? Who? And that's when Cassandra walked out of the bedroom, stood in the living room, stared at Brandon. Brandon's face went completely white. His mouth opened, closed. No words came out. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Brandon, Cassandra said, her voice eerily calm. I'd like you to meet Jasmine, your other wife. The truth comes out for a long moment. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Brandon just stood there, frozen, his brain trying to process what was happening, trying to figure out how this was possible, how his 2 worlds had collided. Cassandra, he finally said. Don't. Cassandra cut him off. Don't you dare try to explain this. Don't you dare try to lie your way out of this. I can explain. You've been married to both of us, Jasmine said. For 8 years. You've been living 2 separate lives, with 2 separate families, 4 children, 2 wives, 2 homes, 2 of everything. Brandon's legs gave out. He sat down on the couch, put his head in his hands. How did you find out? Does it matter? Cassandra said. The point is, we know. We know everything. I'm sorry, Brandon said. I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. Never meant for this to happen? Jasmine's voice rose. You married me while you were already married. You had children with me while you had children with her. You've been lying to both of us for 8 years. How could you never mean for this to happen? It started small, Brandon said, his voice breaking. I met Jasmine at a bar. We started talking. I liked her. I wanted to see her again. But I was already married, so I lied. I told her I was single and then it just escalated. Escalated? Cassandra said. You married her. You had children with her. That's not escalation, Brandon. That's a conscious choice. Over and over and over again. I know, Brandon said. I know. I'm a monster. I'm a horrible person. I've destroyed both of you. I've destroyed our children. I've destroyed everything. Why? Jasmine asked. Why did you do this? If you were unhappy with Cassandra, why didn't you just get divorced? Why did you feel the need to have 2 families? Brandon looked up, tears streaming down his face. Because I loved you both. I loved both of my lives. I couldn't choose. So I didn't. I just kept both. The room fell silent. The weight of Brandon's confession hung in the air like poison. You loved us both, Cassandra said, her voice dripping with disgust. That's not love, Brandon. Love is honest. Love is faithful. Love doesn't lie every single day for 8 years. You used us, Jasmine said. Used us both. Manipulated us. Played us like we were characters in some twisted game. What about our children? Cassandra said. Jordan and Maya have no idea their father has been lying to them their entire lives. That they have 2 half-brothers they don't even know exist. And Marcus and Malcolm, Jasmine added. They think their father is working hard to provide for them. They have no idea he has a whole other family across town. Brandon was sobbing now. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I couldn't let either of you go. Well, you're going to let both of us go now, Cassandra said. I'm filing for divorce, immediately, and I'm pressing charges for bigamy. So am I, Jasmine said. You're going to pay for what you've done, to both of us, to all of our children. Brandon nodded. I understand. I deserve it. I deserve all of it. You're damn right you do, Cassandra said. Now get out. Get out of this apartment. Get out of our lives. We never want to see you again. Brandon stood up, walked toward the door, stopped, turned back. For what it's worth, I really did love you both. That was never a lie. Get out, both women said in unison, and Brandon left, walked out into the night, knowing he'd lost everything. Both wives, 4 children, both homes, his career, his reputation, everything. The aftermath. The next day, Brandon was arrested, charged with bigamy, a felony in North Carolina, punishable by up to 10 years in prison. The story made headlines. Charlotte lawyer lived double life for 8 years. Bigamist father of 4 arrested. 2 wives, 2 families, 1 massive lie. Brandon's law firm fired him immediately. His reputation was destroyed. His career was over. Everything he'd built, gone in an instant. Cassandra filed for divorce. So did Jasmine. Both divorces were finalized quickly. Neither woman wanted anything to do with Brandon anymore. But the damage went so much deeper than just the marriage's ending. Jordan and Maya, Brandon's children with Cassandra, were devastated. They couldn't understand how their father could lie to them, how he could have other children they'd never met, how their entire family was a lie. Marcus and Malcolm, the twin boys, were confused. They didn't understand why their father was gone, why they couldn't see him anymore, why their mother cried all the time. And then, there was the moment when all 4 children met. When Cassandra and Jasmine decided the kids deserved to know each other. to understand the full truth. They met at a park. The same park where Cassandra and Jasmine had first met. Jordan and Maya on one side, Marcus and Malcolm on the other. All 4 children related by blood, meeting for the first time. It was awkward, painful. The kids didn't know what to say, how to act, how to process the fact that they were siblings. But slowly, tentatively, they started talking, started playing, started building a connection. And in that moment, Cassandra and Jasmine realized something. Their children were innocent. They didn't choose this. They didn't deserve to be punished for their father's sins. So they made a decision. They would co-parent. Not with Brandon, but with each other. They'd let the kids build relationships, let them be siblings, let them have some normalcy in the chaos. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was something. The trial. Brandon's trial began in November of 2023. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence of his bigamy. 2 marriage certificates, 2 families, 8 years of deception. Brandon's defense attorney tried to argue that Brandon had psychological issues, that he suffered from compartmentalization disorder, that he didn't fully understand what he was doing. But the prosecution argued that Brandon was a lawyer. He knew the law. He knew bigamy was illegal, and he did it anyway. For 8 years. Deliberately, methodically, calculatedly. Both Cassandra and Jasmine testified. They told the court about the lies, the manipulation, the years of deception, the pain they'd endured, the trauma inflicted on their children. The jury deliberated for less than a day. They returned with a verdict. Guilty. Guilty of bigamy. Guilty on all counts. Brandon Hughes was sentenced to 5 years in prison, not 10. The judge showed some mercy, said that while Brandon's actions were deplorable, he had no prior criminal record, that he'd been a good father when he was present, that he deserved some leniency. 5 years, that's all. 5 years for destroying 2 families, for lying to 4 children, for manipulating 2 women for 8 years. Cassandra and Jasmine were disappointed. They'd wanted more. 10 years, 15 years, life. But they had to accept it. Brandon was going to prison, that was something. The hidden twist. Brandon served 3 years of his 5-year sentence, got out early for good behavior, and when he was released in 2026, that's when the real twist came. Because during his time in prison, Brandon had been writing letters, hundreds of letters, to a woman named Tiffany Morrison. Tiffany was a prison pen pal volunteer. She wrote to inmates, offered support, provided friendship to people who were isolated and alone. She and Brandon had been corresponding for 2 years. She knew his story, knew about the bigamy, knew about the 2 wives and 4 children. And despite all of that, she'd fallen in love with him. When Brandon was released, Tiffany was there, waiting for him. And 6 months later, they got married. Yes, married. Brandon Hughes, convicted bigamist, married a 3rd woman. This marriage was different, though. Tiffany knew everything. She knew about Cassandra, about Jasmine, about the children, about the lies, and she married him anyway. Some people called her crazy, said she was naive, said Brandon would do the same thing to her. But Tiffany defended him, said people can change, said Brandon had paid his debt to society, said he deserved a second chance. When Cassandra and Jasmine found out, they couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe another woman would knowingly marry Brandon after everything he'd done. But they also realized it wasn't their problem anymore. Brandon wasn't their husband, wasn't their responsibility. They'd moved on, built new lives, found healing. They couldn't control what Brandon did, or who he married. They could only control their own lives, their own healing, their own futures. Where are they now? Today, in 2025, Cassandra and Jasmine have built something unexpected, something beautiful. They're friends, real friends, bonded by shared trauma and a determination to protect their children. Their kids see each other regularly. Jordan, Maya, Marcus, and Malcolm are siblings. They have relationships, they play together, they support each other. They're building the family connection that Brandon tried to keep hidden. Cassandra remarried, found a good man who treats her with honesty and respect, someone who would never dream of living a double life. Jasmine is single, focused on her career and her boys. She's not ready to trust again. Maybe someday, but not yet. Brandon and Tiffany are still married, living quietly, keeping a low profile. Brandon works as a paralegal now, can't practice law anymore, lost his license. He has supervised visitation with his 4 children. Once a month, court-ordered. The kids don't call him Dad anymore. They call him Brandon. He's lost that privilege. He tries to rebuild relationships, tries to earn back trust. But the damage is too deep, too permanent. His children will never forget what he did, never fully forgive. The lessons. So what do we learn from this absolutely insane story? What lessons can we take from Brandon Hughes and his 8-year double life? First, lies always come to light. Always. Brandon thought he could maintain 2 separate lives forever. Thought he was smart enough, careful enough, to never get caught. But after 8 years, the truth came out. It always does. Second, deception destroys everyone. Brandon didn't just hurt his wives. He hurt his children. All 4 of them. Kids who did nothing wrong but will carry this trauma for the rest of their lives. Third, bigamy is a crime for a reason. It's not just morally wrong. It's illegal. It's fraud. It's a violation of trust, of law, of basic human decency. Fourth, healing is possible, even from the worst betrayals. Cassandra and Jasmine could have hated each other, could have blamed each other, but instead, they found friendship, found support, found healing together. And finally, some people never change. Brandon got out of prison and immediately remarried. He might claim he's different now, that he's learned his lesson. But the pattern is there, the tendency toward deception, toward compartmentalization, toward living in secrets. The story of Brandon Hughes is a reminder that the person you think you know might be a complete stranger, that the life you think you're living might be built on lies, that trust is precious, fragile, and once broken, almost impossible to fully repair. Brandon lost everything. Both wives, 4 children, his career, his reputation, his freedom. And for what? For 8 years of juggling lies? For the thrill of deception? For the ego boost of maintaining 2 separate families? It wasn't worth it. It's never worth it. So I want to hear from you. What do you think about this case? Do you think Brandon's sentence was too light? Could you ever forgive a betrayal like this? And what about Tiffany? Do you think she's crazy for marrying him? Or do you think people deserve second chances? Comment down below with your thoughts. And don't forget to tell me what state you're watching from and subscribe and share.